Oh gosh. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is John Henry Soto, and as always, I'm here with Jorge Batista. There we are. And we're very excited because we have a part two show that we thought when we originally did this, we thought we were going to have a one episode, but we had so much stuff and we realized we're going to have another episode. And I don't know if we can get through all this. There might be a third episode. Now we're doing this live on Rumble. We are live on YouTube and we are live on Facebook. Now, moving into the future, I don't think we will be going live too much on YouTube or Facebook. I think Rumble will be our where we go, and I will continue to use those platforms for like what George and I call vanilla content. So tell people about our show, tell people about other things that we're working on, our businesses and things like that. But here on this platform, because it's practices our constitutional rights, and we're allowed to say things, we're going to start taking more advantage of that opportunity. And that's why we're here today. So anyway, hope you're all doing well out there. It is Sunday evening. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. It's coming up in a few days. Everybody will be with their families. And, I think the best thing to do is right after you say your blessings and you ask everyone who they voted for. This is the best use of Thanksgiving is to right off the bat, raise of hands. Who voted for Trump?
If you're still in the country, but
yeah, you haven't moved. Yeah, who's moving? Let's see. Quite a few people. I saw a video today of every single person. They clipped them all together. These social media people, they're just vicious, man. on all sides. They're just like mean. They took every single, not every single, I'm sure, but they took a ton of these individuals that said, if he wins, I'm moving to Canada. If he wins, I'm going out to America. And they pieced them all together. And now people are following up and being like, are you still in the country? So we'll see. I know that Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen, yep. She's
I don't know if she left because of that. I think she's escaping because
yeah. Good. Yeah, that's truth to that. Yes.
I think there's other things going on that I think she thought, well, it'll be harder for them to get me over here because I think I did things. But I mean, there's a lot of controversy about that, but things are coming out faster than we can even report them.
Eva
and
Longoria.
We're very curious to see. What was that?
Eva Longoria.
Yep. Eva is out of here. Too bad because she is nice.
Very nice person.
She's very nice to be friends with, to have tea. Maybe we can just talk and maybe have a walk in the park. And
it remains to be seen what's going to happen with our friend Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Robert's cool. I'd love to talk to Robert someday, talk about acting. As an actor and filmmaker, he's, to me, an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
His views on some other things, it is what it is. He has the right to have his views, you know what I mean? No problem with that, But it'd be very interesting to talk to him about like his pronouns. I just can't see him actually going with that. What pronoun? I don't just see that happening. But anyway,
did you see that clip on CNN where they were had a round table and the guy goes, I think one of the biggest problems was that the Democrats were talking about boys being a girl bathroom, and the guy across flips as soon as he says that. You saw that? How dare you say
about that? We're not at this table. I am not going to. Yeah, and there's the guy who also said that since I'm being attacked, because the girl, is that the one?
Yeah. You're attacking me.
The female moderator. She said. So just so you know, you go, well, I'll change my one since I'm being attacked. You go, no, we're not attacking. No, yes, you are.
Yeah.
You are attacking. This is the definition of what an attack is. I said something, and then he attacked me. That is the definition of attack. I mean, it's like hilarious, these clowns. I mean, you can't say something, I mean, and to be honest, I've met so many people that are still very left and hate Trump, but that one thing, that whole thing really kind of confused them. They
Mm,
weren't sure where they were going to go with that.
right.
They didn't fully believe it, especially if they're religious, and they, you know, yeah. I mean, listen, a human being is a human being, and they should be treated equally. Everyone should be treated equal. We should not have any type of but I do feel that within sometimes those organizations they tend to segregate themselves even more.
Correct. Correct.
They are themselves doing what they are saying that is being done to them,
That's right.
and that part of it is really kind of sad and sometimes shocking, because you're like, you really just said that, or you really think that? Because you're creating a much bigger divide than what was here.
That's right.
And it's wild. It's wild. I mean, we are minorities. Everyone, anybody listening, George and I are minorities. We are Puerto Ricanos de Nueva York. We are proud Puerto Ricans. Um, I have had difficult times in my life growing up. Um, but I never blamed the country, and I never really blamed the system,
Mm,
because there were enough opportunities for me that some of them I took, some of them I didn't, and I didn't
right.
do great. I do great. I do great things now, but growing up, I wasn't doing great things. I was struggling. I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to figure it out. But I certainly was not blaming the system. I somehow had an innate ability to know that my responsibility to it was my responsibility, and I had to go out and figure it out.
Right.
And that part of it, I think, is it brings us to the topic of today, which is I don't think that George and I were so much into conspiracies growing up, right? And we didn't really talk about that. I mean, George and I were really interested in Star Trek, you know, uh, Bob Ross,
Working out.
working out, the band Rush,
Yep.
um, and then music. George and I played in a band together. We loved to play music, and we recorded records, and we did all that fun stuff. And that's something that consumed our lives during that time. And I don't think George and I ever spoke politics growing up.
No.
If
No.
it was in passing as a joke. I don't recall them. I don't recall a moment of saying, "Hey, Ronald Reagan won," or George Senior Bush won, or Clinton won. I don't know. I mean, I remember Clinton playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall.
That's right. Yeah.
I remember that, but it wasn't like a thing. It was just like, well, that's the guy who's in charge now, and he's making things good for us, and that was all that we were thinking about. But in today's world, it seems like you can't go, without having a conversation about it.
No. But again, we grew up at a time where the access to information was very limited,
Yeah, I had a
right?
library card, and that was pretty much all I had.
Right. You had library and you had what? You had your 12, 13 channels or whatever on TV, and that was it. And whatever
Seven
was
channels and nothing on.
yeah, and whatever
Seven
was fed through that is what
was
you
it.
knew. You read a newspaper or you listened to the radio, but pretty much it was the same thing. It was all that, you know.
Yeah, my grandparents were listening to a lot of stuff, so they had the Spanish channel, so I would hear what was happening, worldwide in different
Mhm.
parts of the stuff, and some local news stuff too. But it wasn't like um, is they calling you on the bridge? It's, I got to get up to the bridge. Spock is by himself up there. I've left him up there long enough. Captain, are you coming upstairs? Um, but so I would hear the news there, and my grandfather was my grandfather was such a funny guy, because he would hear BS, and he would call it aguaje, right?
Mhm,
That was
mhm.
the word that he would. So he'd be watching TV, and the guy's talking, whatever he's saying, whether it's Bush Senior or even Ronald Reagan. Well, I think we're gonna aguaje, mira este aguaje, and and then Dukakis came along and he was speaking
Mm.
Spanish, and my grandfather was like, "You gotta vote for Dukakis," and I didn't. Perdón, perdón, abuelo. But that was the only thing that we had on the news. We were really
Yep.
focused on art and on music. I mean, early on, I was focusing on just trying to survive.
That's right.
When I got out of the Bronx and got into working and actually making money and living, and then got married, it was things I could then look at the world a little bit differently, with some of the things I did also through my, the religious philosophy training and stuff. But today with the conspiracy thing, George and I were not really we didn't even talk about aliens, right? We didn't talk about aliens. There were no, I mean, you saw stuff on, unsolved mysteries, and no one knows
That's right.
where the donkey ended up. Remember the cows that were being
Yes.
the chupacabra,
Chupacabra. Yeah.
chupacabras and all that. No one knows where the chupacabra went. November 19th, 1975. And that was like the whole the extent of what we actually had was Robert Leach in in that TV show.
Robin
Yeah.
Leach.
Was it Robert Leach? No,
No,
Robert
Robert Stack.
Robert Stack. I know it was a
Robin Leach
Robert.
was the lifestyle of the rich and famous.
Lifestyle of the rich and famous. Yeah, and Robert Mitchum was the actor, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So Chuck Woolery passed.
I saw that. I saw that.
Chuck,
Yeah.
one of the great
One of the great ones. Yeah.
TV game show hosts and personalities. Seemed like a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
condolences to him and his family, and
Mm-hmm.
lived a good long life, entertaining. Very, very cool. So we're gonna jump into some of this that we talk about. This is a very laid back show. So if anybody's out there and you're listening and you want to make a comment, if you're live here, even if you make a comment later on in a future episode, if you're watching this, I will find that comment somewhere. So you just make the comment and we'd be good to go. All right. So last week we ended off, we started talking a little bit about GMOs. We didn't go fully all into it. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because it's still not, which boggles my mind. It boggles the mind. It's still that people are not fully on board with the idea of looking at these as a possible
Isn't that
threat
crazy?
to our health. Like, it's still like, if you go to you go to Google, you go Chat GPT to say, well, there's a little controversy, but for the most part, they've already proven that it's safe. And it's like, these biotech companies, they are not, and food companies combined, their only purpose is to sell more stuff, because that is who are they committed to, the
Right.
stockholders.
Right.
So it says here, so they're resisting the mandatory labeling for GMOs, arguing that they were safe and equivalent to non-GMO crops. Over time, concerns about transparency and potential long-term harm impacts gained traction. The impact was that some countries, not this one, some countries and states mandated GMO labeling, changing food packaging regulations. So there is a little bit of more talk about it. You can go out there and you can see food that says non-GMO, which is it's a good thing. You find those. There's some companies that are just geared towards clean ingredients, so you got to find those companies. I was having a conversation today with my brother and my sisters. We chat every day on WhatsApp, and we leave voice messages and mainly written messages. But today we just decided we were all chatting, and we were talking about the food. And there's, my sister went to the doctor, and the doctor told her that she needs to stop eating eggs and stop eating meat because the cholesterol was too high. And she's has like rheumatoid arthritis. Not to get too much into my personal, I don't think she would care anyway. But rheumatoid arthritis, and she's taking some stuff for that. And I'm like, no, I was like, it's completely ass backwards. And it's like, you need to eat meat. You need to, and eggs are like, a superfood. The eggs are like, have everything that we need is in an egg. It was put there on purpose. I believe that it was put there on the chicken alone is an animal that the full chicken is good. We can eat the full chicken. Even the bone broth is exceptional for your health of not just meat but chicken bone broth, beef bone broth. All of these things are really really beneficial to our health. And I told her, I was like, doctors do not study nutrition. I think they study. I think it's an hour a year
Yeah,
per
yeah,
something like
something like
that.
that, and it's very basic
It's the
stuff
basic
on,
stuff,
like,
and it's by nature to be wrong.
no, yeah, it's very very limited, very basic, like iron deficiency, maybe B12 or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's very 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 basic stuff. And any doctor who, and I've talked about this on my show many many times, any doctor who does know about nutrition, and those are the ones that I tend to actually speak to and go to, and I've even had on my show, are the ones that actually have to go outside the system and learn it themselves,
Right.
because the system itself is not teaching them that. But the funny thing about that, about the egg thing and the meat thing, right? Because again, this is something that's been talked about for many many years. We talked about a little bit last week, the lipid hypothesis and low fat and saturated fat and all this. But if you think about meat and eggs, how long have human beings been eating meat and eggs on this planet?
Thousands of years.
Right? Now, you would think if meat and eggs were so bad,
We would not be here.
we wouldn't be here today.
No, there would be no humans. There'd be no humans because there's pictures of people eating meat in the pyramids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was 4,000 years ago.
Yes.
So there'd be no humans if that
Exactly.
was the case. Eating eggs and eating bread. The bread that was around 1,000 years ago is different than the crap that we have today,
100%.
because we've ruined our wheat crops are completely most of them GMO, and not to mention the fact that the soil has been sprayed so many times that the soil itself is not good anymore.
That's right.
So it gets into all the food that grows. Even if you buy, if George and I went on and bought a field and said we're gonna just grow non-GMO food here, and we just plowed the whole place flat, that dirt has to go away too, because the dirt is already perverted.
That's
So
right.
we got to squeeze everything out. We got to come up with brand new dirt, and then start growing crops on there. This is but I wanted to ask you a question, George, on, through your show. I know you've interviewed a lot of doctors. You've had a lot of experienced people on there. What is the biggest argument that someone who's not a doctor, who's somebody like yourself or one of the doctors that you've had on your show, what is one of the biggest arguments that they have against the GMOs on the physical body?
As far as what they feel that it doesn't do to the body?
What is the most damage that they feel that it creates into a body?
Well, I mean, you can I mean, the biggest one is cancer.
Correct.
The biggest
Yeah,
one is cancer. That's the number one thing.
that's
I
the one
mean, you
I
can,
hear about too. Yeah.
yeah, you can go to, and the big one, obviously, when you want to talk about the fields and stuff, and I know we've touched on it a little bit, is the glyphosate and what's sprayed
Right.
on the crops, right?
Right.
Because
And
that
that's the
one,
Roundup stuff,
that's
right?
the Roundup, right? That's the one that has been linked to especially was it non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? There's been lawsuits that Monsanto had to pay out because of that,
Yeah.
and
That's funny. I mean, the fact that they had to pay it out is just proof that there is a problem, because
yeah, but to them, it's not. To them,
even their billion-dollar lawyers couldn't beat out a case. So that means that there is a problem. I would assume.
well, yeah, and you're 100% right, because, but their thing is, and I mean, I don't know how much you have there on them. Some people may not know about, like, how deep Monsanto has gone to cover up what's gone with Roundup, right? Because there is an actual thing called the Monsanto Papers,
Yeah.
that they got from, which was internal papers, which I think there's like 1 million documents now that show that the scientists that actually worked for Monsanto, these were emails, these were letters, and all these types of things. And these scientists in there were telling the bigwigs at Monsanto, this is not studied stuff. We're not doing the proper testing. We're not doing the proper, this stuff is carcinogenic. And they hid that. They fought that. They still fighting that to this day, But then the counter argument, and this is where you can get into this, right? The counter argument to that is, okay, if we don't use Roundup, what are we going to use, right? That's their argument, because Roundup seems to be the most effective at what it's supposed to do, right? But yet, if we take that out, then what are all these farmers going to use? And that's kind of the counter narrative to that.
Right. I mean, I am 100% sure that if the scientists were to be instructed to find natural ways of fighting, whether it's, I don't know, some people use rosemary oil for certain things, they use whatever. There's so many different things that we have on the planet to help to try to figure it out that's natural, that I'm sure that if they got their head together, but it may cost a little bit more money, and that's where
the
profit is at loss, and that's where they can't afford, or they can but they won't want to, because somebody is investing, they're buying stocks in these companies, and it's like, we ain't gonna lose all that. So that's the GMO. Do you have one that you wanted to talk about?
No, I want to. I mean, I know you have a huge list. So I want to get through. Yeah. I want to get through yours. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the use of harmful food dyes. So some of the food dyes that were out there were, as a matter of fact, they said that what's do you see this about what's the most toxic, horrible food for kids?
Actual product?
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one.
Skittles.
Yeah.
The level of dyes, the 30 red and all the whatever 40 blue, whatever all the numbers are. There's so much in Skittles that they're basically just giving your child chemicals to, and these chemicals, and this has already been proven to really, really damage a lot of. It's almost like lead poisoning. If you remember back in the day, kids were putting paint chips in their mouth because they would fall off the wall, and lead was in paint, and they would paint with these things, and even the schools had lead paint in them.
That's right.
And the controversy is, was that done on purpose or was by accident? Who knows? We'll never know that. But it says here, certain artificial dyes approved in food products were later linked to hyperactivity in children and potential carcinogenic effects. While some food manufacturers knew of the concerns, dyes were still widely used. Led to increased calls for natural coloring and changes in regulations, particularly in Europe. In Europe, and you've seen if you are on social media, you've seen where they had the Fruit Loops from Europe and they had the Fruit Loops from America, and the American ones are like all so many colors and so much dyes, and the ones over there had some color, but they were much, much less because they use fruit coloring they use beets for red, they use different fruit colorings in Europe, and here they're just using chemicals. They're just coloring things with chemicals without. And obviously there's a concern, but there's still, I mean, I went to the supermarket today. There's aisles and aisles of stuff so it's not like no change is happening. Kids are buying it, and they're I don't know what the potential is, but if you look at our numbers of where we are in the school system, where we are in math, where we are in the last 40 years when these chemicals really got into the bloodstream of these kids, of all of us, and where we are today, we're going down.
Oh, yeah,
greatest country in the world, we're going down. And this is where it's crazy.
Did you see the? I'm sure you saw the rebuttal that I think was the New York Times tried to have against RFK when he talked about that. So he compared I'm not sure if it was Canada or one of the other countries, but the
Oh,
product.
I did see this, but yeah,
And
yeah.
then they tried to go back at him saying, "Well, no, United States products they're not that much more. It only has yellow dye number 7 and yellow dye number 2." It's
They
like
basically just shot themselves in the foot by stating exactly what they're doing.
I was
They're like, no, it's just the only thing we have is red this and red that and yellow this and blue this. And everybody's like, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
What are you saying? That is what we're saying, you dumb dumb. That's exactly the argument I'm making. What do you, I mean, yeah, I don't know sometimes if they're doing it on purpose or if they're really just that dumb. It just boggles my mind. So that's the dyes. The next one here that was a fallen conspiracy that was debunked was the mislabeling of natural foods.
Hmm.
So the term natural has been used on food packaging to imply health benefits. Investigations revealed that many so called natural products contained additives, preservatives, or genetically modified ingredients. Now, the impact of this was that it prompted lawsuits and consumer demands for clearer labeling standards. Now, this is where the labeling standards, when you change the label on a product, unfortunately, people are just not reading labels.
Correct.
They're not being educated to read labels. School doesn't teach you to read labels. My kids know when we go and Dad, can I have this? Well, let's see. I'll tell you in a minute if you can have it. Now, I used to use the app, the Bobby Approves, which I still use every once in a while, but I've
Mhm.
become so good at knowing now
Right.
what's in it that I could look at it and be like, yikes,
Hmm.
and know that it's like, no, we ain't getting this, but I will get something that is the equivalent of this,
Right.
but is the health product. It's like this is Lex Luthor, what they're selling us here. I'm trying to find the Superman,
Right. Right.
and that's yeah.
Yeah. So and people again have to be educated. Or try to be educated at least when you're looking at these labels. There's some simple things. You don't have to get technical about it, but
No,
there's some simple things you can look at. Okay.
seed
You
oil
know,
is one thing.
correct, correct. But even the list, you have, there's certain things that have to be on a label, right? There's certain things that go in the grid of the actual
Right.
label, the sugar content, the fat content, those types of things, right?
Those kind of,
Then under that,
vitamins.
right, if they, yeah,
Yeah.
under that, you will see a list of those other ingredients that are in there. Okay. So number one, you want to look at that list of ingredients, how long it is.
Mhm.
Number two, you want to see the words in those labels, right? You want to see, do you know what those words are? Do you know what, I mean, can you even pronounce them? Okay.
Right.
If you
Yeah,
can't
most of them
pronounce,
I can't even pronounce. Yeah.
yes, if you can't pronounce them, chances are, they're full of garbage. Also, where the guidelines, people also don't understand also where they are on the label makes a difference. Where they are, so matter of fact, the first
Yeah.
ingredient
The
is the
first one is
most,
right.
the end of it is the least.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're buying tomato sauce and the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, and at the bottom, the last one says tomato,
Right.
then you
Exactly.
basically just bought sugar product.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And so just simple things like that, looking at those ingredients, and you don't forget about the front of the package. Look at the back and check that out, okay? And see that. And then also, even the word organic. Remember, organic does not mean 100% organic.
Yeah.
Okay, the food ingredients in that package only have to be between 70% to 90% organic. They don't have to be fully organic. That's just the way the law is.
Yeah.
So another thing to keep that in mind.
Yeah. The whole organic thing is another thing that you have to really keep on top of. And like I just recently, I bought some tomato sauce. That's why I mentioned tomato sauce now, because I found, I'm looking at them and stuff, and man, I am like, and I'm talking about popular tomato sauces, like ragu
Right.
and all those really popular ones, man, just really hard, like 40 ingredients on them. I found one called Yo Mama's. It was called Yo Mama's, Italian, and every single item, every single ingredient on that list was natural. Every single thing on that list was something that it was like tomatoes,
Yeah. Yeah.
parsley,
Yeah.
garlic, onions. Yeah, it was like that was what I was like, wow. So that's what I bought. That's what we've been having.
Beautiful.
But it's and they're out there, and it wasn't any more expensive than the garbage ones. As a matter of fact, I've actually found it now that some of the crappier stuff is starting to cost more than the
Yes.
healthy stuff because people are like just not buying so they have to kind of increase their prices because they're battling against the healthier ones.
Right.
So you can go find it. I found a mayonnaise. I like mayonnaise, and you get that Hellman's mayonnaise.
Oh my God.
It's got canola oil in it.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
got
Yep.
staffer oil, and it's just a horrible product. But I found one from a company called, I don't remember, but they use avocado oil. That's the
Hmm.
only oil that they use in there, and all the eggs are organic, or from farm raised pollos, and so you can find it, and it wasn't that much more expensive than like a Hellman's. You know what I
Right.
mean? It was so this is a responsibility that we got to take because we're up against these big conglomerates, and if people were to just put their thinking caps on and be like, okay, I'm going to go shopping, but I'm going to take a little bit more time, instead of just what you normally get, go see if you can find something that's a little bit better,
Right.
just a little bit better than what you normally got. It doesn't, and what George said, the ingredients, if you see 40 ingredients on one product and then you get another one and there's like 10,
Yeah.
well, you might as well get the 10. At least
Hmm.
you're getting less chemicals. Now
Yep.
it may still have canola oil, it may still have a whole bunch of stuff in them, but at least you're going in the right direction. And plus, once you get yourself into the habit of doing that, then it becomes part of your. It's just a natural thing. Like I don't go shopping and just pick things and just throw it in my cart. It's like I have my specific things that I already know I'm going to get, but they're the stuff I've researched that I know. Like when I get mayonnaise, I only get one kind of mayonnaise. This is the
Hmm.
kind I get, the healthy kind.
That's
When I'm
it.
going to buy eggs, I only get one kind of eggs. They're I mean, eggs are different because you could actually get an eggs that are not the best, but are still better for you.
Correct.
But if you get like the really good eggs, the ones where, you know, farm, what is it, free range and all that
Hmm.
stuff, those eggs are good. So I know what I'm going to get already because I've been doing it for years of where I've been researching and trying to find the best products so I can be healthier and feel better and
Yeah.
be there for my kids. I have young kids and, my son is 8 years old. You know what it is at my age to be chasing around an 8-year-old? It's he wants to go play ball. He wants to go outside. It's like there's a lot. So I'm trying to do my best on that. So if we were able to take that responsibility, and just be like, I'm not going to lose to these effers. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to actually look. I'm going to still eat. You eat what you want to eat.
Hmm.
That's the thing. You can eat what you want to eat, but you don't have to eat what they're telling you to eat and
Right.
what they're promoting. Those sugar cereals, you never see a box of sugar cereal in my house. Never have as Fruit Loops ever entered this home, ever. None of those products, But my kids already know it. They're learning. My daughter will come and she'll look at something and she'll be like, "Oh, actually, I looked at this. This is good." And I looked at it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's
Nice.
good." So and we get it,
Good
because
habits.
it's already there. If we can educate our kids to do that, it just becomes a lot easier.
That's right.
So that's the mislabeling of natural foods. Uh, so this one is misrepresentation of serving sizes. So that was the thing that people were used to talk about a lot, and it was a conspiracy because, well, all of these were at one point. People like George and I were just looked at like crazy people when you talk about any of these things. But this is something that food companies. It says, I'll just read this. Food companies often manipulated serving sizes on nutrition labels to make products appear healthier,
Right.
showing lower sugar and calorie counts. This practice misled consumers about actual consumption. So regulations now require clearer, more realistic serving size labels to help consumers make informed choices. So that's and
Yeah.
that yeah, I don't
And you
know.
gotta, yeah, you do have to look at that as well. I mean, look at per serving, what, and those types of things. Again, just, you don't have to be technical about it, but, you look at it. And I mean, now we're seeing even because the amount of people are always concerned about calories, right?
Mhm.
Calories are a big thing, especially people who want to lose weight. And now you can go to a lot of you go to most of the fast food places. Now the calories are listed, and you see, oh, this has 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, all these types of things.
Yeah.
And at least there's information there where you can make a decision. Okay, am I going to have the salad, or am I going to have the burger that's going to be twice the amount of, and of course the salad, where the calories come in is when you put the dressing on it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
the thing. And yeah, you
yeah,
put in a dressing with canola oil and with
right,
sugars and with all this stuff because they taste so good.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, we know, but you can also just take oil, take some oil and vinegar. If you take some
yes,
olive oil with a nice vinegar,
that's what
that's
I do.
great. I
Yep,
mean, you make your own thing. You don't need them to like blend it for you
that's
in,
right.
in factories and machines. You do that thing yourself. Um, so here's another one. Antibiotics in livestock. So for decades, the livestock industry used antibiotics to promote growth and prevent diseases, creating antibiotic resistant bacteria. The issue was downplayed for years, but later proven to be a significant health risk. The impact was that it led to regulations limiting antibiotic use in animals raised for food and increased awareness of antibiotic resistance.
There you go. Antibiotic resistance has become such a problem for people, especially in the last year, 15, 20 years, because first of all, even without the livestock, even without that, antibiotics are given out. Maybe you might have something. You might have a bacterial, even if you have a virus, right? Doctors will give you antibiotics in case you develop a bacterial infection at some point,
Right.
and you may never do, but you have to consume those antibiotics, and it's a constant thing. So you have the overuse of antibiotics on the medical end, and then you combine that with the antibiotics coming from all those other foods and that type of thing. So it's no wonder why you have such a rampant problem of antibiotic resistance.
Yeah. Yep. This next one here, and then we can move on to. I don't know if you have any. If not, we can move on
Keep going, keep going.
to the CIA torture program.
Yes.
Um, just real casually. Yeah, the syphilis study here.
The Tuskegee experiment.
The Tuskegee. Oh, the CIA drug smuggling allegations. We'll talk about. Um, YouTube's gonna kick us off in a few minutes anyway. Artificial trans fats. Now this
Mhm.
one. Well, actually, no. Before we get to that one, I wanted to do We mentioned a little bit last week the pink slime,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
but I wanted to go into a little bit more because so the processed meat product called known as pink slime. It's got a great name. Um, was found to be used in ground beef without consumers' knowledge. This sparked outcry once exposed in the early 2010s. Public backlash forced some companies to
Mm.
change their labeling practices and forego using the product. Some. So it's still out there, and pink slime is meat byproducts, which is basically all the garbage that you can think of grounded up into a pink paste and then thrown into other meats that's perfectly good in order to extend it to give you more. So what they do is they take this meat right here that's good, they put garbage in it, so now this meat becomes this big. Now they can sell it twice as much, and that's what pink slime is. It's horrendous. It is a crime against humanity. Why it's being used, I don't know, and why people aren't in jail for it, or these companies out of business, I'll never know. And the reason is they're being paid off. They're paying off everybody and their mother in order to just get this stuff in there. And hot dogs, some certain hot dogs, there are some hot dogs out there that are actually good. You can actually, again, you got to look at the label. The ones that say 100% beef, that's probably good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it says whenever, I get one that's it says grass-fed 100% beef hot dogs.
Right.
And from grass-fed cows. So, we get those, and the what were you gonna say?
I wasn't gonna say anything.
So the idea that only some companies stopped using it, that means that you have to still stay, vigilant on that and still look out for this, because I don't know what pink slime really does, to be honest. Nobody really does. I mean, could it be affecting our tremendous heart, chronic heart illness? What do you call it? What is that? Heart disease?
Yeah.
Just heart disease in general. Could that be it? I don't know. But nobody seems to be really looking at it. It's still there in some products.
John, why would people want to study things for a long period of time? I mean, things just get approved and thrown in, and then we find out 20 years later that it doesn't work.
It's true. It's true. I have some other stuff here, but I realize that there's some other stuff we can't really go over here because I'm still live on a couple of other platforms here that frown upon conversations about that. But if you tune in next week just to Rumble right here, if anybody is on Rumble, thank you very much, by the way. If you're here right now watching George and I, we're brand new. Well, not brand new. We've been doing this show for years, but we're brand new here to Rumble because we've decided that we wanted to explore a little bit more of our First Amendment and be more open to the conversations. We are two Puerto Ricans. We have more. I mean, we're both raised liberals. Raised liberals. I walked away in 2015, and became I'm a conservative now. I don't know if George. I think George, you might still be a liberal, but
I am independent.
George is an independent. But we both lean a little bit more towards the conservative, where they are currently today, which is where the left was a long time ago. I don't know what happened. Something happened. But I was talking about this on my show the other day, on my solo show, where I said, you look at a line like JFK, it's not what your country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country. You can't say that as a liberal anymore.
Oh, no.
You can't say that. It's not what your country can do for you. It's not. I mean, it's not what you can do for your country. It's what your country can do for you. It's like, that's what I want. I want something.
Yeah.
The hell with the country. The country is terrible. I want something, right? That's the viewpoint. So if you go back and you listen to some of these speeches from some of these legendary liberals through time, even Martin Luther King, and you can go back to Bill Clinton, and even there's a speech that I read that I didn't read it. I heard it. Obama gave, and I was like, yeah, yes, he's 100% correct. What happened?
Yeah.
Something happened within the last 10 years, and it's been
well, we know what happened. We kind of know what happened within the last 10 years.
I know
that changed the landscape politically. I mean, just completely flipped everything on its head. But it's crazy. It's crazy what's happened, but you're 100% correct. And that's RFK talks about it a lot. He says, look at what my uncle and what my father, used to say back in those days. He says, that's the party I used to represent. That's not the party that I represented when he was Democrat at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a thing up here which says Robert F. Kennedy has been outspoken about his concerns regarding the safety and regulations of genetically modified organisms, and related agricultural practices. He argues that corporate interests have heavily influenced policies surrounding GMOs, pesticides, and processed foods, potentially prioritizing profit over public health. Yes. Kennedy advocates for stricter oversight of agricultural biotechnology, promoting organic and clean food systems. Um, his broader stance includes opposing pesticides, intensive agriculture, and supporting natural health solutions that aren't tied to pharmaceutical companies. Look out! The
Now,
P word.
and here's the thing: you say to yourself, because they're already there's already news out that they're already organizing the resistance against him.
Oh,
They're already going to try to
they are
not to
going to. They're
do
gonna
whatever they can so he doesn't
guy
get
up.
confirmed, right? That's number one. And they're going to do whatever they can to try to, tighten up everything where he can't, he's not able to change a lot.
Yeah.
And I get it, because listen, these people have been allowed to go for decades and decades unchecked. These people have been allowed to do whatever they want to do. And, the average person goes, sometimes the average person would be like, what am I going to do? They're allowed to do this. They're allowed to kill people. They're allowed to put all these chemicals and things in there. What am I going to do? And, I mean, I have hope that maybe something will happen. I don't know if it's going to get to the scale that I would want it to get to, but
Right.
I'm hoping that there will be some change. And but it's crazy how we as a society have allowed this to go on for so long.
Yeah.
That it's sad.
It is sad, and you also have to think of the those that are profiting, that are making. I mean, a lot of profits. I mean, we're talking about people that are making. I mean, it's a $1 trillion industry. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I mean, trillions of dollars are being made. So this is the first time in our lifetime that there's been this type of opposition against such a huge conglomerate of companies,
Right.
meaning the Food Trade Commission, pharmaceutical companies, the Monsantos, all that stuff all together it's the first time in history that that's happened.
Yeah.
And so when you corner a cat, the cat's nails are going to come out and they're going to try to scratch your eyes out. So I have a feeling that they're all having a lot of meetings right now to how to scratch his eyes out and how to get back on track to, I mean, hopefully a lot of this has been coming out now. And this is one of the reasons why they want to ban some of these platforms and why there's so much, talk of fact checking and disinformation, because if there was nothing to ever hide on what was happening, no one would really care about hiding anything.
Right. Right.
There'd be no interest in hiding anything. It'd be like, who cares? Yeah, do whatever you want to do. If you really were 100% confident in that, in what was being said. But
Well,
if
if
that narrative,
even if you were confident in your product, think about I remember a reporter asked the head of Bayer, because Bayer owns Monsanto.
right?
And there was, at the time when Monsanto years ago was going through there was a regulatory body at the International something of Cancer was looking into Roundup, was looking into glyphosate and its effects, right? Their whole thing was, we just want to look into it. They didn't make any statements that it was bad or anything. We just want to do an independent study on it. Okay. The head of Bayer immediately upon that attacked and, went on the attack and said, blah, blah, blah. And he came out and his lawyers, and it was a whole thing. And I remember the reporter asking him, she said, if your product is so safe that you say it's so safe, you say your product is no issues or anything, why go on the attack? Why, let them do their independent review? And his answer was, well, it should be obvious. They're going to try to distort the product. They're going to try to defame the product, and I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that because I know what they're going to say. I know what blah blah blah. And so that was his reasoning, even
Yeah,
though they never said that.
yeah, nobody ever said they were going to go out to get anything.
Yeah, but the point is that again, whether it's the food company, whether it's Monsanto, whether it's the companies or whatever it is, if your product is so good and so safe for everything, then give all your information, right? When there's a FOIA request, give your information to whoever it is, let them go line by line and show how safe it is, right? Because think about it, when you buy a product, whether it's a stroller or a car or whatever it is you put your baby in, that
Yeah,
has
they've
to
been
be tested
tested.
and that has to be safe. And
Yeah,
and when you get that product, you know that product has been safe, has been tested to regulations to a specific
yeah,
point.
yeah, to
And
the life. Yeah,
what happens if a baby dies from that crib?
yeah,
They immediately recall it, right?
yeah.
Because it forces them to make a safer product. Okay. These guys don't have to do that. These guys
No,
could just throw it out there and just say it's safe.
yeah, and
But
they've also written into some of their laws where they can't be sued, they can't
exactly.
be
They
brought
have
up
no
into,
liability and all
they have
this.
no
Yeah.
liability. They have, so it's, I mean, can you imagine a product, any type of product that if George and I had a business and we created a product where 50,000 people just died,
We'd be
we'd
like,
be we'd be out of business and in jail.
yes, 100%.
We'd be out of business and in jail, and so it is an incredible time to be alive. It's been going on a very long time. I mean, it's really the lifetime. Probably started in the well, it started early on, obviously, when we're talking about the uh, petroleum industry and Rockefellers and all those guys. But what I'm
Yep.
talking about, that's what the original start of the control happened, right? Where they took over the banks and the food and then the
Mhm.
medicine. So once those things were taken over by these guys, um, things really started going into effect in the 50s, like during those baby boomer years, and then the 60s and the 70s, and then the 80s, where we're just like bombarded, and now it's almost like it's so evil that they can't even contain it. It's coming out. People are asking questions. This is why all this is coming out now. It's, I mean, I know that there's a lot of attention on it, especially with JFK. I mean, with RFK, but there's a lot of attention on it with him. But it's also been a lot of attention just in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yep.
he's just the biggest name to
Right.
come forward to point the finger, and now what he's done is that he's opened up a can of worms.
Right.
And now a lot of these guys are kind of backpedaling. And this is where we find ourselves today, where we don't know what they're going to do. This is
Right.
where the scary thing gets, I mean, look what happened with our war situation. It's like, we're just getting ready to get a new administration, and it's like, well, before we leave,
Yeah. Let's destroy.
before we leave, let's do some damage here, because there's so much money in war. There's so much money in war. So this is something that's been going on, unfortunately, for a lot longer than we even know. And the idea that George and I are going to come on here and give this information, and we're suddenly, the world is going to be a better place. It's not a realistic thing. But one thing we can do is that we can take responsibility for communicating what we believe to be the right thing to do and the right things to say, because we want the world and we want people to actually be safe and be able to eat food. So this is one of the reasons why we do this. It's why we're on Rumble now. I know we're a couple other platforms wherever nobody watches, because they a lot of scared, and our content doesn't get up there. But if you are here, we appreciate you so much. Please share our content. We're going to be live here every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about subjects like this. We'll be back next week for part 3 of Fallen Conspiracies, part 3. This time is personal. And this one, we're going to talk about a lot of things having to do with the cover-up, but with the government.
Mm.
So we're gonna go, even though a lot of these bleed into one another because they're all government,
It's all related.
all related. These are actually like really some of them that were found that were conspiracies. And I saw a meme the other day that was kind of hilarious because they banned chemtrails in Tennessee, where I'm at. And then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. I thought there were no such thing as chemtrails.
Right, exactly.
So how can you ban something if you said for so long that it doesn't even exist, that those are just planes? So it's like, huh? So there
Well,
we are. There
yeah,
we
I
are.
mean, it's the chemtrails are hanging out with Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
anyway,
Where is that? Where
but
where are the lists? There are a couple of lists that we need to get. These people, again, that's another thing. There's so much right now. See, George and I we don't know. We're not in the forefront of all this stuff. There's got to be so much craziness going on behind the scenes of people plotting, probably death too. I mean, death, because this is how a psych, a sociopath behaves. They to them they're in the right. And I watch a lot of like crime TV, crime not TV, but crime shows and
Mhm.
documentaries about mob guys, hitmen, serial killers. I watch these things, and you see them having rational conversations about why they think that what they did was the correct thing.
Yeah,
So imagine if you get somebody that just somehow gets into power by having this viewpoint. I mean, it's House of Cards.
yeah,
Remember House of Cards, the TV
yeah,
show? That was a documentary.
yeah, yeah,
It felt like that was a documentary. It's like people are sociopaths and they get up there and then they call us crazy because we're saying things like this. But here's the proof that what the people have been saying things that come true.
yeah,
It's right here. This is
yeah.
we've been saying this stuff for decades. People have been talking about this stuff, and here it is that they it comes out, and it's just so much that they can hold from us.
And I just want to just really, really quick say also on that while we're kind of wrapping up the whole food and the whole thing. On my show I talk a lot about um, food, but also supplementation and supplements. Supplements have been attacked for a long, yeah, georgebatista.com if you guys are interested in my show. But supplements have been attacked for years and are still to this day. They're still trying to put legislation in to regulate supplements to the point, because just remember that in the early 90s there was the Shea Act that was passed that basically put supplements in the same category as food.
Right.
And they've been trying to get rid of that ever since, because what they want to do is they want to place supplements in the same category as pharma drugs. Because then if they get put into that category, the supplement companies would be forced to do the millions and millions of dollars of testing when they come out with a new product.
Right.
And that's going to knock
$100 million to do
correct. And that's
for a
going
drug.
to knock out a lot of the small supplement companies, because they're
Knock
not going
out
to be able to
all of them.
afford to do the testing on these new things. Some of them will be grandfathered in, and other ones will not be allowed. And it doesn't mean that they will be approved either once they do the testing.
Right.
So they're trying to do this because they want to eventually either get rid of supplements or regulate them to the point where it's going to be harder for people to get them, because they've already done that in Europe. In Europe, it's already been done to a point where you can't get a certain amount of supplements. It's very small, and they're trying to do that here. And supplements, when you take a look at supplements, and if anybody's interested to go on my website, I actually have comparisons between pharmaceuticals and supplements according to the poison control centers, and who's been hurt by one and who's been hurt by the other. Okay. You guys it's all information that's out there. You can look it up for yourselves. So just an FYI that, I'm very much, I talk a lot about supplements and supplement safety. And I agree, supplements have to be manufactured safely, but at the end of the day, they're something that you can consume to help support your health. Okay. Right. And to give you the proper nutrition. Okay. And again, just keep that in mind that they've been trying to get rid of them for a long time.
Yeah, and part of the reason for that is like sort of because it's control, right? I mean, obviously,
Yes.
but if I make a vitamin C, I can do that because if I have an orange, oranges have vitamin C, and you can't really tell me not to grow an orange tree where
Right.
I can have an orange, and not get what is it, scurvy, I think it is, right?
Scurvy. Yeah.
So so that's part of the problem also. All these vitamins are in nature.
Hmm.
So if a company gets together and gathers up the in nature and creates these supplements for people, well, they need to control that.
Yep.
So that's part of because I mean, if people think that a drug, I mean, there are people that know about drugs and they still take them, which always amazes me. They'll take something that they that there's so many different supplements. I'm a product of that. I'm a product of taking things that are actually I was pre-diabetic and I just had supplements and I actually changed my diet and it went away. Not
Hmm.
that I'm controlling it. I don't have it.
Right.
It's cured. I
Right.
am no longer with that thing. I can eat cookies now and not get sick if I wanted to eat a cookie, because I don't have that anymore. I've changed my system. So it's not doesn't run in the family. And yes, there are some things that can have, that can be implicate some kind of things in your family that comes from your what is it, hereditary. Never,
Hereditary.
I can never say that word. What is it again?
Hereditary.
Hereditary. So, there are things that are like that, and you can't, and we get that, but certain things you can control. And nutrition, what you put into your body, you can control. And if you put good things into your body, you will do better. And if you put bad things into your body, you will not do as well.
That's right.
This is not rocket science here. We don't need Elon Musk to tell us about this. A little Puerto Rican from the Bronx knows that if you put garbage in your body becomes garbage. And if you don't educate yourself on seed oils and all the toxins that are in the foods and stuff and the dyes, and you don't protect yourself, you're going to have problems. So this is the reason why we do these shows. Our show is an entertainment show. Let me just say that before anything. We should probably get that that notification here.
Yeah.
But if you have a doctor, please consult your doctor before you take any advice that's given on this program here. We are not doctors. George is a wellness professional, and I am a Puerto Rican. But we are not. I play music, I play guitar really well, and I make movies. But I am not going to tell you how to take care of your body. You can go to your doctor. But it's okay to ask your doctor things. Unfortunately, doctors don't know a lot of things about nutrition and supplements, but you can ask them, and then you can get maybe a dietitian and have your doctor prescribe a dietitian or a nutritionist or somebody that would know a little bit more about that. So, all right, folks, want to thank you very much for tuning in here to our episode. We love you very much, and we want to continue to be on here, and the shows are going to get a little bit more and more out there as we are, or more, at least more honest, as we break away from the other platforms and just come on to Rumble full time. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you all next week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am John Henry Soto. He is George Batista. Are you that way? Am I pointing correctly
Yes.
to where you are?
Right.
Okay, good. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's George Batista, and we will see you all next week. Take care. God bless. And as always, peace.
Screen shorter, screen smaller.